It is 7 o'clock, and I notice the presence of a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. Regular council meeting, Town of Central, Monday, November 11th, 2024. And I would ask Reverend Dill, will you call us to order with a prayer, please?
On this Veterans Day, I would ask that we just take a moment of silence to remember those who have served our country. Oh God, we give you thanks for those who have put themselves in harm's way, that we might enjoy the freedoms and the rights that we have. We ask, oh God, that we would be people who would not forget, but that we would be people who would remember, that we might honor those who gave the greatest sacrifice and all those who sacrificed. Mm-hmm. May we also remember the families of those people when they were serving and carried on by themselves. May we, oh God, purpose in our hearts to be good citizens, that we too, wherever we are, might rise to the cause of confronting evil, of being good, and doing right. Allow us, oh God, even in this, as we gather tonight, as we speak, as we talk, as we vote, as we hear, that we might have wisdom and goodness, and that we might be humble people as we serve each other. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to beg everyone's forgiveness for stepping out of order for just a minute, but I would like to ask, are there any military veterans out there tonight? Anybody that has served our country? Yeah. I would ask you please to stand. And please join me in a round of applause for thanking them. Okay, now we'll get back into the agenda. Regular council meeting minutes from 10/14/2024 and the public hearing for that same night, 10/14/2024. We looked that over last week in work session. Anything to amend or change? And if not, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt regular council meeting minutes 10/14/2024 and public hearing minutes of 10/14/2024.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt regular council meeting minutes of 10/14/2024 and public hearing minutes from 10/14/2024. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. That motion carries. Thank you. We have come to public session for 30 minutes total, 3 minutes per citizen, and I don't have any names on this list, so unless there is someone that lives within the town limits that would like to say something tonight, you are welcome to do so. Otherwise, we'll move along. Very good. Thank you all for being here. Receipt and disposition of petitions. Mr. Mishu, is there anything to be made aware of?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Moving right along, reports from council committees. And first up is Ms. Bowers for planning.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Michael Foreman to come up, and he is the person that we have hired to help the planning commission with the PUD that we have right now. He was with us on Thursday when I had our meeting. So he's gonna explain what happened at the meeting and how we came to the resolution that's before us. The only other thing I have is a meeting on November 19th at 6:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, appreciate your time. My name is Mike Foreman. As mentioned, I've brought on by the town to help usher this project through. So the first step in that project was accomplished by y'all back in September, as you are well aware, with the preliminary development plan and statement of intent that were approved at the time of annexation or shortly thereafter. that essentially set the preliminary zoning in place of PUD, planned unit development, for the project. The next step in that process was to get for them to get their final development plan. So the final development plan essentially locks that zoning into place. It's the zoning ordinance essentially for that piece of property through the planned unit development. So Planning Commission, as required by ordinance, by your zoning ordinance, approved that final development plan last week with conditions, which I believe you have. But as part of your preliminary approval, the town council also requires, as a condition, approval of the same final development plan. So that's what you have before you today, is the final development plan that was approved by Planning Commission with the conditions attached from the Planning Commission. And I believe you have those in your packet. If you don't, I can read those into the minutes if that would work. But otherwise, I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you all may have in regards to this project.
Is it in our packets?
Yes, it's the, phase 1 final development plan. It's just a one.
Oh, it's right there. Skip right over there. Any questions from council on the resolution?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
it's all right for me to address Mr. Foreman for a couple of questions. This is just maybe semantics, but it says final development plan, but there are more steps that will go on before this really is a final development plan. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So unfortunately, state law uses terminology that's similar, but for different processes.
Yeah.
So yes, the next step, what you're doing here tonight is specifically for the zoning side. There's another preliminary development plan, which is coming back before the Planning Commission on the subdivision side, and that's when they actually put pen to paper and subdivide the properties out. Planning Commission will be reviewing that next week. That's a preliminary subdivision plan. And then beyond that, there's a final plan or final plat, which essentially gives them the authority, once the roads are built, that gives them the authority to sell those lots. So there are a few more times before, or a few more reviews along the way. This will be the final zoning review.
So it gives council opportunity then to fine tune things as we see fit during this process?
This will be the last time that town council sees this project before you
The zoning,
to vote on.
right,
Yes, sir.
for the zoning,
Correct.
okay. But things like wanting more entrances or exits or something like that can be worked on later, is that?
Yeah, so that would be, things along those lines. So what the ordinance allows for minor changes and major changes to the plan once it's approved, to the final development plan on the zoning side once it's approved. Major change would then have to go back before you all. It's essentially treated like a rezoning would be.
Okay.
So I know these things because I have heard, but just for the record, can you explain a little bit about your credentials?
Sure. So I'm a urban planner. Been doing this about 20 years. Spent about 10 years in Anderson County. For the last 3 years of that, I was the planning director for the county. I've also worked as the planning director for the city of Travelers Rest most recently until March. Back in 2018, I started my company, Conduit Planning. I'm sole proprietor, just with the intent of helping small communities around the state with projects like this. I've been working with plan developments for the entirety of my career. I've worked with towns, but as far as similar size, Inman, most recently with Inman, helping them out a few different things the last few months. So yeah, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the situation here. And then when I was when Philip approached, I felt like it was a good fit, something we could definitely work with you guys on and help usher you all through the process.
Great. Anybody else have any questions? Anything else you'd like to say you haven't had a chance to?
No, sir.
Okay. Appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Bowers, anything else from you this evening?
Are you ready for a motion for this?
You're welcome to make a motion.
I would ask that we adopt Resolution 1111, 2024, Phase 1 Final Development Plan.
I will second that motion. Motion on the table is to adopt by resolution Phase 1 Final Development Plan. That is Resolution 1111-2024. Are there any further discussions?
With, with clarification that there's still work that we can do, and realizing that, well, was it 3 months ago that Planning Commission did not recommend, and now they unanimously recommend. I feel like good work has gone on, so that we can make sure that we are working to make sure we have the things that we think are important to be a part of this.
Yeah, I think, absolutely. No, I think, we've talked about this before, but the expertise that planning brings to the table and the solutions they come up with, I have confidence in those personally. Any other discussion?
I just want to go on
Yes, sir.
record, Mayor, that I'm all in favor for this as well. I think Mr. Foreman, expertise in this matter, bringing it to the table, is well worth his effort and the planning committee as well. So I'd just like to thank them.
Thank you for that. Anything else as a way of discussion? If not, as a reminder, motion on the table is to adopt Resolution 1111-2024, Phase 1 Final Development Plan. Any further discussion? If not, all raise your hands if you're in favor. And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item is Streets and Public Safety with Mr. Mosser.
After the hurricane, everything done settled back down, and the fire department will be participating in the town Christmas parade, as well as having a fire department dinner on the December 6th and the 14th. That's all I have, man.
Any questions for Streets and Public Safety?
I'd like to go on record, thanking the police department, the fire department, first responders for their efforts during Helene's cleanup and during the initial event. So thank you all for what you did.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I suggest that the mayor send a letter to those departments, thanking them on behalf of the council and the citizens for the great work that they did.
I'd be happy to do so. Anything else for Streets and Public Safety? All right, Enterprise and Community Engagement. Ms. Chapman, please.
Yes, for water, sewer, and sanitation for the month of October, the Water and Sewer Department completed 178 work orders. The meters were read on October 16th, while rechecks were done on the 17th, and disconnects were done October 28th. 40 customers were disconnected for non-payment, and of these, 30 were reconnected. The sanitation department, both residential and commercial, operated on normal schedules for the month of October. That is my report for water, sewer, and sanitation. Community development, I just want to remind everyone of the community engagement meeting that will be held on the 14th, which is this coming Thursday, at 7 o'clock at Central First Baptist Church, which is at 207 Johnson Road. And I look forward to seeing everyone there.
Great. Any questions for Enterprise and Community Engagement? Okay. Recreation, I was about to skip you.
That's right.
You can go right ahead then.
Sure, recreation report. Our recreation department and workers were very important in the Rooting for Rylan campaign that the town had to support this young man who so desperately needs surgery and money for that. It was a huge success. Things went very well. And I just want to thank the Central community for coming out and for supporting him and letting him know of our love and our concern. we have a basketball jamboree, which is coming up on December the 14th. The exact times will be announced as they work out the teams and the schedules. And then the basketball games, the rec basketball games will begin on January the 6th. So that's all I have to report at this time.
Great. How many signups do we have, Tom? Are we pretty crowded?
A little over 500 kids.
Wow. How many teams is that gonna be?
It'll be 50.
Fantastic. Good. Anything else? Oh, yeah.
No, I just said,
Oh, okay.
I'll reiterate that, Mr. Ross.
yes.
That's why we built those extra courts. So,
Yeah, it's easier for me to say, that's a good thing. I'm not having to coach or organize anything. Anything else for recreation? Finance and marketing, Mr. Peak.
Yes, sir, thank you. For the month of October, our general fund had a balance of $734,193.16. This was a decrease of $202,183.45. This was a decrease of 24% from the previous month. The decrease of that amount is mainly due to wages, overtime wages for our sanitation workers after Helene came through. So we should be in real good standings for the rest of the year with our general fund until next year when we start getting our property taxes coming in. Our water account for October had a revenue of $2,833. For the year, our water account has a surplus of $27,386, which is a 10.91% increase from the month of September. The sewer account for October had a revenue surplus of $23,377. And for the year, we have a surplus of $43,479, which is an increase of 73.45% from September to October. And for the sanitation account, October saw a revenue surplus of $9,882, and for the year, the account has a surplus of $23,676, which is an increase of 52.75% in revenues from September to October. And that's all I have.
Any questions on finance? Tourism and economic development, Mr. Griffin, sir.
Yes, sir. The Christmas parade will be Friday, December the 6th. The parade will start at 6:30. Special activities will again be held from 5 to 6:15 at the Train Caboose. That includes music, visit with Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus, hot chocolate tent provided by the fire department and the town central, tree lighting, and much, much more. That's all I have.
No rain, Mr. Griffin. No rain. Anything else for tourism and economic development? All right, let's get to some business. Any new business to be made aware of? Old business is in here, so let's move on to introduction and consideration of new ordinances, policies, proclamation, and resolutions. The first thing on our agenda is a first reading of the ordinance 12/9/2024 rezone. There's tax parcel numbers here, but we're talking about 1066 Church Street and the southwest side of 18 Mile Creek Road. This would rezone the parcels listed from neighborhood commercial to R6, 1 family, and 2 residential family. That is the proposal in the rezoning ordinance. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve ordinance 12/9/2024, rezone for parcel number 4065 20825441 and 406516826556.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt on first reading ordinance 12/9/2024, rezone parcel 406520825441 and parcel 406516826556. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. And that motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is first reading of ordinance 12/9/2024, amendment to zoning section 603, 601, and 602, 603, off-premises signs. All this does is tighten up our regulations around what kind of signs can be placed around town and try to rein that in a little bit. I think this goes a long way in doing that. So that is the purpose of the ordinance that's on first read before us tonight. And to that end, I make a motion that we adopt on first reading ordinance 12/9/2024, amendment to zoning section 601 and 602.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt on first reading ordinance 12/9/2024, amendment to zoning section 601 and 602. Is there any discussion on this item?
I am going to vote in favor of this amendment, but I also think that we need to remember that not all of our citizens have computers in their home or smartphones in their hands. So I think there's going to have to be other ways that we get information out to our citizens.
I agree. I don't think, there's no such thing as too little communication.
Right.
I agree. Any further discussion?
So what we're at, I just want to make sure that I understand. So we're saying no off-premise signs. If you own the property, you can advertise on that property, but you can't go sticking feather signs up wherever you want to.
That's my understanding.
And, to rein that in. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand, please. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving right along. Make sure I'm lining up here. Okay, next item is first reading of ordinance 12/9/2024. It's amendment to zoning section 723 and 1100.75. What this will do is also tighten up rules and regulations on the use of campers and RVs and the parking of said campers and RVs. That's what we're trying to do here, is tighten that up a little bit. And so, understanding that, I will entertain a motion on this ordinance.
I move that we adopt ordinance 12/9/2024, amendment to zoning sections 723 and 1100.75.
Okay. Motion on the table is to adopt on first reading ordinance 12/9/2024, amendment to zoning section 723 and 1100.75. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
most of the discussion around this from a lot of people has been appearance, that they don't want an RV in the front yard or that looks whatever way. Sometimes we all have our own concept of beauty and what looks good. My concern with this is primarily is safety. fire department is called to a house that's burning, and there's a 36-foot recreational vehicle parked in the front yard, it makes it extremely difficult for them to do the work that they're supposed to do in terms of getting to the house and helping to save it or spread to someone else, someone else's property. Also, we expect houses to have residents. And so they approach houses with that intent. I think just allowing people to live in RVs in whatever way just puts a greater burden on the fire department and other safety services. So I'm for this, but I'm just saying, I'm for this because
That's the position,
in
that's the stance.
in my position, it is not only what might look nice, but what is safe, and we might not think about that in other ways, and I just wanted to draw attention to that.
It's a good call out. Anybody else have thoughts on this ordinance as we discuss it? Okay, motion on the table is there. All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is first reading of ordinance 12-9-2024, amendment to section 2-58 in the town ordinance relating to appearance of citizens. This ordinance would make it so that people who pay for city services, even if they're not living in town limits, would be able to address council during our regular council meetings, such as the one we are having tonight. Mr. Peak, did I accurately describe the purpose of that?
Yes, sir, you did.
Very good.
Thank you.
And I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt on first reading ordinance 1209-2024, amendment to amendment section 2-58, appearance before town council.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt on first reading ordinance 12-9-2024, amendment to section 2-58 in the town ordinance, appearance of citizens. We have any discussion on this tonight?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'll quit talking after this one, okay?
No, you don't need to.
I just want to clarify, what we're saying is, we're not saying if you don't live in town central, you can't address council. Mr. Foreman addressed council tonight, and he's not, you can be invited, you can be asked to speak. There are multiple ways. We're talking about during public session that we want to primarily hear from the people that live within our town limits, the people that have businesses within our town limits, and then the people that pay for services that might not live in our town limits.
Yep.
In addition to that, community engagement is holding events where anyone can come and speak and have discussion with council. So I think what we're doing collectively is allowing more people more opportunities to express their views instead of less. And at the same time, trying to balance really, in my mind, carefully, that we were elected by the citizens, and those are the ones that we primarily serve. And then the others that our decisions may have some repercussions to them.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that.
I want to stress kind of what Ken just said, was that we were elected to serve the citizens of the town. I understand wanting to give everyone time to address council. Most everybody has my phone number and my email. I think that what we're doing is not really helping the citizens. It's just giving more individuals the ability to address us during our public session. which is not always where they need to be addressing us. Just my feelings.
Fair point. Anybody else have thoughts they'd like to share tonight? Okay. Motion on the table still stands. It's first reading of ordinance 12/9/2024, amendment to section 258, appearance of citizens. All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. All opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is policy. This is a policy that clarifies, as we learned during the hurricane, it just helps us better understand the department's responsibilities and gives some flexibility for those that might be trapped or might have issues getting into work. Just further outlines what our expectations in the employee handbook are for responsibilities during hazardous weather. So that is designated as policy 11/11/2024, hazardous weather employee handbook. And I make a motion that we adopt policy 11/11/2024, hazardous weather.
Second.
Pick one. Motion on the table is to adopt policy 11/11/2024, hazardous weather. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. And that motion carries. Okay, now we're moving into ordinances, consideration of ordinances and policies already in possession of council. So these are on second reading. The first up is second reading of ordinance 11/11/2024. That's annexing parcel 406410467236. It's my understanding that is the wedding venue that is being planned in our town, and they would like to be a part of our town. It's the other way around.
Other way around.
All right, let's switch that. This is Maverick Hills. Correct. This is Maverick Hills Development. Please excuse me. So again, ordinance 11/11/2024, annex 406410467236 relates to the Maverick Hills Development. Thank you for that correction. And I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt ordinance 11/11/2024, annex of parcel 406410467236.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt on second reading ordinance 11/11/2024, annex 406410467236. And is there any discussion on this annexation? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. And that motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is also a second reading of ordinance, It's ordinance 11/11/2024, annex parcel 406517004390. That is a wedding venue that wants to be a part of the town of Central. And to that end, I make a motion that we adopt on second reading ordinance 11/11/2024, annex 406517004390.
Second.
Motion on the table is to adopt on second reading ordinance 11/11/2024, annex 406517004390, our wedding venue. Any discussion?
What is the address of this? Do you know? It is
115 Heather Hill,
in behind Monterey.
on the old Monterey. Yep. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. And that motion carries. I believe it's time for reports time. Mr. Administrator, please join us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I just need to get a head count for the PCMA annual banquet. at SWU. It's going to be on November 18th at 6 p.m. Spouses are invited.
You
So,
wanna
what
know
night?
even if we've
They
RSVP'd?
had to do it themselves.
Oh, yeah, oh, y'all have already done it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Okay.
get, I didn't get any invitation.
You get it from email. They didn't send out.
Okay, I must have missed that then. Okay.
But I think.
If your RSVPing is different from us doing it for you, get with Susan afterwards if you haven't gotten an email. And I may be one that gets with you. All right. I did have a couple other things. The parade, I just realized while I was sitting down there, the parade is going to occur, I think in between the work session and the regular session in December. So if y'all want to participate and ride on a fire truck, probably need to let us know so Ed can make arrangements. So think about that and get back with me. If you already know, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay.
My
Well,
3 grandkids want to ride.
okay, including kids, sure. You got that, Ed?
Yes, sir.
All right. And we did get I just received this while I was sitting down there, a thank you note from, I wanted this to be a part of the minutes. The complete thank you note is to thank the Central Fire Department and Police Departments for escorting the Daniel Band through town after they won the state championship. And the lady that sent the thank you note was a parent. I'm probably going to mess up her name, but that's okay. Amanda Hashim, band parent. So I'll let that be part of the minutes, all right? Any questions from council? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for my report. I just want to say, my wife told me not to do this, but as we all know, the general election is over. And regardless of whether your candidate was elected or not, to the extent that anybody in this room has influence over their community and over their friends, the past several years have been increasingly contentious and disunified, and I would encourage us that now is the time to talk to our neighbors, talk to our friends, our loved ones, and let's move beyond this disunity that we've felt over all these years. Will that change anything? I don't know, but if each of us comes together with our neighbors and shows a little more grace and sees things from other people's sides, if there's ever a time that we need unity in this country, it's now. So to the small extent that the town of Central can play a role in that, I would encourage us all to try. And then I'll shut up. Anything further tonight that anybody would like to address? If not, hearing no objections, we are adjourned. Thank you, ma'am. Well, I had this big hard thing written out. My wife's like,